There's a line on the ground that'll take you anywhere. If you want to go somewhere in particular, you gotta follow the right line. But there's a line on the ground most places, and we're gonna follow that line to whatever we might find, though it might not be just what we were expecting. There's just no point directing that line on the ground. If you let it, it just might take you anywhere.
Hello, this is Houston EV Hub, presented by Houston Electric Vehicle Association. This is our first live program, so we welcome your phone calls with comments and questions, and anything you can add to the discussion. We encourage you to call in. We may have given the wrong phone number to some people, but this is the new one, 713-526-5738. Push 2 and you'll get on to talk. So yes, there's a line on the ground. It'll take you most places. It could be a road, could be a river, could be a path, even a path through the air. And we're talking about taking those adventures electrically with electric vehicles. And EV Hub is presented by Houston Electric Vehicles Association here on KPFT 90.1 FM Houston, also at kpft.org and in the archives. I'm David C. Lowy. So, I want to acknowledge an event going on with one of our fellow groups in Austin this weekend. There is an all-electric car rally. Now, that's not a race, but it's sort of a scavenger hunt. It's happening on April 6th in Austin. For more information, austinev.org. I believe we may have someone on the phone. Someone was supposed to call in. Is he there? All right. Mr. McKinney is with us? Not yet. Oh, well, Chris Jefferies is one of our guests today. Hi, Chris. We'll get to you very soon. A little game I like to play as I drive into the studio. We're going to do this every week. It's called Spot the Electric Vehicles. Well, I wasn't that attentive today on the way in, but the other day when I was just driving over here to see where everything was, I noticed no less than 8 different electric cars out there just on one simple drive across town. So there are a lot of them out there. Ordinarily, I'd give a drum roll before announcing those results. So the number is 8. And I'll ask some of the other people on the show to do the same when they come in. And some of you can tell us how many electric vehicles you spot in your daily drives. We also do something funny when we have electric vehicles. It's called Spot the Tailpipes. So that's what we do when we're trying to see if a car that looks suspiciously like electric is out there. And sometimes it's hard to tell, but then we'll hunt around and we'll look for those tailpipes. So that's kind of an odd little thing most owners of electric vehicles do. But now it's time for...
One day you'll look to see I've gone, for tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun. Someday you'll know I was the one, but tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun. And now the time has come.
All right, so that music is, we can cut the music and we are going to be talking about powering our vehicles with the sun today. Of course, that was Paul McCartney, a song he wrote when he was 16 years old, but a beautiful little thing. And it talks about, I'll follow the sun. So that's what we try to do when we have solar on our roofs or We've built solar systems. We can set up motorized ways to track the sun to maximize the power that we get. But just before we get to our guests, Mr. McKinney, are you there?
I'm here.
I know you have a show on KPFT also, but tell us about what's happening tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, the show on KPFT is called The Houston Hour with Mr. McKinney and Heidi Vaughn. It's on every single Wednesday at noon, so today at noon on the HD2 channel. But I also serve in a couple of capacities for different TV stations as their historian, and I do a monthly one-hour special every single first Thursday of the month on CW39. It's called H-Town Live with Maggie Flecknoe. She's the host, and I kind of help her co-host this really special experience. So we've done it in the past, live from Bayou Bend, for example. We've done one Women's History Month. And now we're talking about Earth Month. So Earth Month, kicking off Earth Month on April 3rd, which is tomorrow. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., a full one-hour special live from Discovery Green. So we've got quite a few important people, including yourself. You're going to be joining us along with Dave Hansen, too. But we've also got Pat Greer's going to be joining us with Pat Greer's Kitchen, talking about healthy eating and sustainable farming and things that matter. So Pat Greer, no stranger to KPFT airwave listeners. But we also have, we mentioned earlier, the EV Club of Houston Electric Vehicle Association. But we also have Jessica Keegan coming on with the Texas Electric School Bus Project, an important initiative, and she's working so hard to make sure that school districts understand the value of an electric fleet. Certainly makes sense, certainly makes dollars and cents as they save, and that's a really great way not only to make it a healthy living for our children that have to breathe in the air, but also just saving the school district's money in the long run, because those buses, are quite a large expense in keeping them. We've also got Johnny Richardson. He is with Green Mountain Energy's Sun Club. This organization, the Sun Club, is part of Green Mountain Energy's initiative, and they actually fund over $40 million over the last, 14 years doing this. And they have some organizations in Houston, 46 recipients, including Trees for Houston with their brand new office. They've been a beneficiary of the Sun Club program. And then also Salam Bomb Houston's going to be on the show. They're an Indian dance troupe here in Houston, and they're going to be performing live on stage at Discovery Green. That's, again, tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., a full one-hour show. And they've got a sustainable building courtesy of the Sun Club Green Mountain Energy. The whole focus is to remind people that on April 19th, a free event is available to the public. It's going to be Saturday, April 19th, from noon to 5 o'clock over at Discovery Green. It's free to the public, and it's brought to you by Green Mountain Energy. So they're the ones that are putting on this. It is their, I believe, 8th annual, and that's what we're focusing on tomorrow, is talking about all the folks that are joining us. They've got an event, a program called Squonk, which is a nonprofit opera over in Pittsburgh, and Squonk produces these it's called Bruja, and it's basically this large, interactive, musical extravaganza that's made out of sustainable material that kids and adults can touch and plunk, and it's just a really cool experience. So Squonk's going to be performing their Bruja, it's hard to describe. You got to see it to really kind of believe it, though. But we have some STEM kids through Carnegie that are talking about their project. These bright boxes are these STEM box projects that they're going to be doing, and their whole focus is to get young people inspired with the sciences.
All right.
So, yeah, it's a whole 1 hour show.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care.
All right, bye. And now we're going to get to the topic for today, which is solar power that powers our homes and has the capability of charging our electric vehicles. So, joining us remotely is an old friend of mine, and that's not really a mention of our age so much as the fact that we were both in high school together in the early 1970s. Welcome, Chris Jefferies, and please tell us about what led you or what caused you to need to go off-grid at the home that you're building on your generations-old property.
Yep. Well, good morning, David.
Good morning.
Glad to be here. So we started the project actually about 2.5 years ago. And one of the first things we were trying to figure out is how to get power to the location, which is west of Brenham, Texas. And on a property, as you say, that my grandparents purchased in the mid 40s. So it's family property. We've had it a while, and so we decided to retire there. So we tried to acquire an easement document from our neighbors, and they were not so gracious to give us that easement. So it meant we had difficulty getting access to the grid. So we wanted solar anyway, and originally I thought, well, we'd get the grid connected first and then move into solar. But well, decided to go off grid.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, we have designed, or I've been designing now, and has recently finished building the solar system, and it's comprised of 56 panels. It has 4 inverters and 12 5,000 watt batteries. It's designed to provide 60 kilowatt hours per day. And that's what we're hoping we can work with. I think that air conditioning in the Texas heat is going to be one of the big considerations. But it is interesting to consider the idea of being able to charge a car off of that system.
Right, that's what we're hopeful for. I'm just going to quote from a book called A Brief History of Motion by Tom Standage, who says, electric vehicles will only be truly green, zero-emission vehicles, if they are charged using zero-carbon sources of electricity such as wind, solar, nuclear, or hydropower. Now, your house isn't built yet, but you're preparing for that. The home was designed by your wife, Aurora Garcia, and I've seen some of the plans, and it looks extremely interesting. So how is your solar going to power that, and what potential is there for having enough power to also power a vehicle?
Well, that's the challenge. The system is working as of today, end to end, but I have not load tested it. So we don't have a house to put a big load on it. I did run a vacuum cleaner on it.
Yay!
to vacuum out we put it in a container. So we did run some power against it. It is technically working end to end. I can see the panels are charging and so forth, but I'm not actually living nearby, so I have to leave it off for now, and I will return in a month or so and start doing some load testing.
Have you looked into the possibility of what I suggested of using a robotic vacuum to clean your panels?
Yes.
I think that would really work, because those things have cliff sensors. They're not going to fall off the thing. Right.
And so the concept also is that they are low to the ground, so they're fairly accessible with a hose and a mop.
Yeah, but who wants to do that?
Well,
if I'm visiting, don't ask me to do that.
That's right.
Okay, we also have with us Kevin Douglas, a member of Houston Electric Vehicles Association, and the owner of a home with solar charging. And Kevin regularly powers his home as well as charges his 2, I believe, electric vehicles. So tell us about your setup, Kevin.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to have y'all with us listening in. We have a home with 13 kilowatts name label on the solar. The solar system produces about 10 kilowatts peak, and we get 55, 60, depending on the amount of sun and the season, of kilowatt hours a day. And yes, we power the house and do our charging of our electric cars. Electric cars, depending on how much driving you do, will use between 10 and 20 kilowatt hours for a normal drive cycle of 40 to 50 miles. So, yes, you can definitely use the solar system to charge your vehicle. And Chris's situation is a little different because he's off grid, so he has to manage the amount of energy that the solar system puts into the batteries and what he consumes, which is why he's talking about load testing. We are grid tied here in Houston, which means that our solar system and batteries are connected to the grid at all times. If the grid goes down, the nice thing about having solar and batteries is that you get backup power, just like you would with any kind of generation system, backup generation system. We kind of look at when we manage loads. Your most important loads in your house are probably your refrigerator, freezer, and that uses 1 kilowatt hour to 1.5 kilowatt hours a day. And then, of course, we'd like to have our internet modems and charge our devices, which uses very little, maybe a third of a kilowatt hour a day. And then we have, and then after that, we'd like our comforts, and comforts are the big one down here in Texas in the summertime, of course, is air conditioning. Well, air conditioning has a large load, probably 5 kilowatts, 3 to 5 kilowatts, and so that's you want to get efficient systems. You can actually get systems that use 1/5 the electric load by having high efficiency. So that's where your high efficiency air conditioning systems really come into play.
So there have been a number of power outages over the years. Have you used your cars to power your home?
We have not. Well, no, that's not true. I have, not through my solar and battery system of the house, but I actually have a small battery, 1 kilowatt hour. You can use a 2 kilowatt hour battery that I charge off of the car, and I plug my refrigerator, freezer, internet modem, a fan, a light when we've had no power, and so we're kind of camping, but that allows us to power the most important devices for when we don't have power.
Okay. We're going to get to the point of our show where you and Chris talk together. I know you had a discussion last week, and we basically did a whole show on the phone, but we didn't capture that, so we'll give you a chance to recreate that. But right now we're going to do a new feature on our program, which we call Fun with Zip and Zap. Today's episode is called Zip and Zap Go Electrically to the Movies. I'll be Zip, and our producer, Colin, will be Zap. I don't know if we're going to make it home after the movie, Zap. You forgot to charge.
You're suffering from a common cause of range anxiety, Zip. That happens to a lot of new drivers of electric cars. It makes them worry about having enough battery charge.
Well, that's interesting, but I'm still worried. I won't be able to enjoy the movie.
But Zip, this movie theater offers free charging for people who are watching a movie. When we get out of the theater after the show and maybe playing some games, we'll have enough charge to make 6 round trips.
Really? Wow, Zap. You really know how to plan ahead. I won't be worried now.
Good. A little planning is all it takes.
And that's the truth. You can applaud over the phone if you call us at 713-526-5738 and push 2 to talk to us. We'd be happy to hear your comments on anything we're discussing today and about your experiences with electric vehicles if you are a current driver. So now we're going back to Chris Jefferies and Kevin Douglas. Talk among yourselves.
Hey, Chris. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise. So the other day when we were talking, you had some good numbers for how to consider how to use the solar system to charge cars. And it was sort of a miles per kilowatt hours and the number of miles you might drive within a day. And it was very interesting, and I think that folks would like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, most electric cars use about 3.5. They get about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour that they charge. So if you want to make it easy, 3 miles per kilowatt hour, you can charge. Another thing that people think is that you have to fully charge the car, but just like your gas car, you don't fill it up every night when you before you go to bed. An electric car, you actually can fill it up every night when you go to bed because you just pull into your driveway if you have a charging station or just a 110 outlet and you plug the car in. But as far as planning for Chris's situation where he's off grid, he doesn't have to fill the entire car up to full. All he has to do is kind of know what the distance that he's going to be driving the next day, and also if there's a need to get more charge than his system can provide, he can have alternates. Like, for example, on that property, there are other homes, family homes that are tied to the grid. There's also high-speed charging stations that are not too far away, maybe 30, 40 miles. You'd look at that, and so you would adjust your charging for that. So like he said, he's going to load test. He's going to see how much the house pulls off of how much electricity it uses, and then adjust accordingly. But other than the 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour and the fact that you don't have to charge it full, so if you were going to drive 40 miles in a day, you could say that that you're going to put in about 10 kilowatt hours, and you can put in about 10 kilowatt hours on a 110 outlet. You can do that in about 10 hours. But you can do that in 1/5 the time, a couple of hours, on a 240 volt charging station. Was there anything else, Chris, that you remembered me saying?
I just wanted to cut in. We did talk about the possibility of using additional panels on top of the house or solar shingles. Why wouldn't stuff like that work for you, Chris?
Yeah, I think the idea of shingles on the roof is interesting. I haven't done deep research on them, but it seems to me that it would be a little bit tedious because of the connectivity required between each shingle, and I don't understand the mechanics of that. It may get better coverage and not have the disconnect between the roof line and panels that are on the roof. But it just seems a little bit tedious to me.
And I understand. I understand that there are some difficulties with putting up thermal solar systems for heating water.
Well, the same situation. The solar thermal is making hot water from the sun. You get some dark plates up on the roof and run some copper piping through that, a grid of that, and then slowly pump glycol, as I understand it, through the system, and you transfer heat from the roof into what typically looks more or less like a regular hot water heater with coils in it. So I am considering that as if we have issues with the amount of solar production we get, to take that out of the mix, and that would be pretty huge. I think if we need that, we might go that route.
And you have a windmill on your property. That's just for pumping water?
Yes, it is an old school windmill. My understanding also is that the way that the mechanics work of a windmill isn't really meaningful to generating electricity. I've considered it, and the research I've done says don't bother. You need a different kind of mechanism for generating electricity from a windmill.
Unless you've got those giant white turbines out on your property.
That's yeah. I'm talking about the old Western style windmill out there.
Well, maybe it's time to look into pricing the giant windmills.
They don't have to be giant. They can be smaller units that are more tailored to your consumption of a residential
And some are kind of cylindrical rather than just the propeller type, right?
That's right.
Well, anything else between the two of you that comes to mind?
Chris, I was going to say that, you designed the system for 60 kilowatt hours, but did you consider, have you considered maybe that you could use a little bit of expansion and add some solar panels and get 70 kilowatt hours out of the system, for example?
Yes, and I'm being conservative in that 60 kilowatt hour range. I already think I can probably get about 70, but that's to be tested in real world. So the calculations actually say I can get close to 70 in the summertime. And so I'm looking really at the worst case is the wintertime when the sun is low, although the solar array is seasonally adjustable. So we can adjust it to optimize the angle of the sun. But I'm hoping to maybe be able to get 70 out of it. I also have considered the idea of expanding the solar, and I already have 2 other batteries that are waiting in the wings. So that's and it was just the way that I arranged them.
That'll be a total of 14 batteries, right?
That's correct. Once if I put those in, right now it's a matter of how to connect those in with the racking and so forth, and the length of wires. And so I just decided to go with 12 for now, see where we are. And as you say, adjust as we go forward.
So very briefly, how did your experience with computers and AI help in designing your system?
I did use ChatGPT to verify my calculations. And, as they say, you pay attention to what it says because they can hallucinate, as they say.
Yeah.
But I found it to be very useful.
That's happened to me, too, on occasion. Okay, we're going to be wrapping up. This has been a thrill for me. And thank you, Chris, Jefferies. And good luck on your project. I hope you get to pour those piers soon. And Kevin Douglas,
they have been poured, David.
Well, that's very soon. Way to go.
It's already done. Yesterday.
Yay. And Kevin Douglas, thank you very much. Kevin is the secretary of Houston Electric Vehicles Association. And so this has been Houston EV Hub, our first live program. We didn't hear it from any of you except for Mr. McKinney today, but we'll hope that you'll be calling in every Wednesday morning, 10 to 10:30 here on KPFT 90.1 FM and kpft.org and the archives.
And find Houston Electric Vehicle Association at houstoneva.org.
That's our producer, Colin Lowen. Thanks to everybody.